Number 6, the Dursley account, a most unpleasant ordeal. From Dave dreams of fantasy worlds, from audiobooks he's reading and book reports he wish he'd done in school, this is inspired by the J.K. Rowling Harry Potter series. Here's Vernon Dursley's perspective, written in his gruff, self-important style as he experiences the chaotic events of chapters 3 and 4 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The Dursley account, a most unpleasant ordeal. When the first letter for the boy arrived, Vernon Dursley had been sure it was a mistake, a mix-up in the postal system perhaps. But when more came flooding in, he knew it wasn't just the boy. It was them, those strange, unnatural people from her side of the family. Vernon had vowed long ago to keep his family safe from all that nonsense, and he wasn't about to let a barrage of letters ruin the perfectly normal life he had built. "I'll not have it," he bellowed to Petunia, who wrung her hands nervously. "Not in my house. We'll leave. Yes, we'll leave. Let's see how those weirdos deliver their blasted letters when they don't know where we are." The road trip escaping the letters. First, they fled to a motel in Cokeworth. The man at the counter, a greasy-haired bloke with an unpleasant sneer, eyed Vernon with suspicion when he paid cash. "One room," Vernon grunted, "for the night." He didn't like the man's tone when he asked if the kids would keep quiet. Dudley, of course, was whining about the television not having enough channels, while the boy, Harry, sat silently as if he knew something Vernon didn't. The next morning, Vernon was greeted by yet another flood of letters. Hand-delivered this time. "How are they finding us?" he roared, crumpling one in his fist. Petunia looked pale. "Maybe we should just—" "No," Vernon snapped. "We're not giving in. Pack up, all of you." They drove for hours, bouncing between towns and motels, with Vernon growing more paranoid by the minute. He refused to let anyone talk to him at gas stations or diners, gruffly ordering meals and filling up the tank like a man on the run. When the letters kept coming, no matter where they went, Vernon knew he had to escalate. "We'll go further, somewhere they can't possibly reach us." He slammed his fist on the steering wheel. "Somewhere remote." Procuring the boat and shack, Vernon spotted a dingy marina by sheer luck and approached the grizzled boat owner. "Need a boat," he said, his voice low and serious. "Storm's coming," the man replied, scratching his beard. "Don't know if I'd take anyone out there tonight." Vernon narrowed his eyes. "I'll pay double." The man squinted at him, but eventually relented, handing over the keys to a rickety little boat that looked like it hadn't seen a proper repair in years. "Don't say I didn't warn ya." The shack he rented from a man who smelled faintly of fish and didn't ask questions. "Perfect," Vernon muttered. It was cold, damp, and utterly miserable. The perfect place to escape those blasted letters. The island, a night of chaos. As the storm raged outside, Vernon sat in the corner of the shack holding the gun he had purchased earlier that day. He hadn't told Petunia about it. She would have fainted at the very idea, but Vernon was determined to protect his family, even if it meant facing down whatever lunatic was sending those letters. "Dad," Dudley whined, clutching his oversized blanket, "there's no telly and I'm hungry." "Be quiet, Dudders," Vernon snapped. "You'll eat in the morning." Just as he was beginning to feel a small sense of triumph, perhaps they had finally outsmarted them, there came a deafening boom. The door of the shack flew off its hinges, and a massive figure loomed in the doorway. "Who's there?" Vernon barked, pointing the gun with trembling hands. The giant stepped inside, shaking rainwater from his wild mane of hair. "Rubius Hagrid," he rumbled, "keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts." Vernon's throat went dry. "Get out," he shouted, voice crackling. "I'll call the police." "Call 'em if you like," Hagrid said, unfazed. He took a step closer, and Vernon stumbled backward, nearly tripping over Dudley, who was cowering behind him. The confrontation. "You've kept Derry from his letters, Dursley," Hagrid growled, his eyes narrowing. "I've a mind to turn you into a toad for that." "Now see here," Vernon began, but Hagrid wasn't listening. With a wave of his umbrella, he sent sparks flying, and Vernon's gun melted in his hands. "What is the meaning of this?" Vernon sputtered, his face turning purple. "You can't just come barging in here." "Can't I?" Hagrid replied, pulling a squashed birthday cake from his coat and handing it to Harry. "Happy birthday, Harry. Sorry it's a bit squished." Vernon watched slack-jawed as Harry, that boy, stared at the cake with wide eyes. You're not taking them," Vernon stammered. "I've kept them safe all these years." "Safe?" Hagrid thundered. "You've kept them in a cupboard under the stairs." "I won't have it," Vernon bellowed, his last ounce of bravado surfacing. I won't. He's staying here where he belongs. But Hagrid had had enough. With another flick of his umbrella, he sent Dudley squealing into the corner, a curly pig's tail sprouting from his backside. Petunia shrieked, clutching her son, while Vernon stood frozen, his protest dying in his throat. Now, Hagrid said, turning to Harry with a warm smile, let's get ye to Hogwarts, shall we? The aftermath. As Hagrid and Harry disappeared into the storm, Vernon sank into a rickety chair, trembling with rage and disbelief. Dudley was wailing, Petunia was fainting, and Vernon was left to ponder the utter disaster that had just unfolded. This isn't over, he muttered to himself, not by a long shot. But deep down, he knew it was.